In this 5-year plan, I'll be taking a look at the possibilities for what I could see at Kennywood in the next 5 years. Now, this isn't one of those big chain parks like Cedar Fair or Six Flags, so with these, it's a bit trickier to predict what they're going to be adding each year because they'll go some years where they don't build anything at all. That's sometimes how they work. It's also harder to predict when they're going to be adding roller coasters. So once again, this is just strictly predictions. Please don't get mad at me if it doesn't come true. That is why it is called a prediction video. This is what I would like to see at the park. But sometimes when you want to predict the future, you also have to take a look at the past. So let's just take a brief recap and look at what they've added in the past few years. I want to start with 2015 where they added this 4D theater. This is where they'll show a film and have water spray at you, have all sorts of smells. But then in 2016 they focused on upgrading Noah's Ark. They brought back the whale and just gave it an overall renovation. So both of those were definitely geared more towards the families. 2016 was of course based on improving something that they already had in the park. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that 2017 I think we're going to see another sort of restoration. This is one that's been talked about. It's Garfield's Nightmare. This is a weird little attraction. It's a boat ride. You don't actually get wet in it, but you put on these funky glasses and go through all of these cartoon cutouts of Garfield. It's a pretty weird dark ride. It's definitely one of the weirdest attractions I've ever seen in an amusement park. But there's some people who aren't a huge fan of Garfield. I'm sure nothing against the cartoon, but they'd like to see a more classic type dark ride in its spot. Something like what it was back in the day. And so I could see Garfield's Nightmare getting the boot and some sort of classic dark ride replaces it. Basically just means taking out all the Garfield cartoon strips and they'd replace it with animatronics or something else, but they would keep the boat layout. But even if that doesn't end up happening, I think in general 2017 is going to be a smaller year. And I think that is because in 2018 that's where we're going to be seeing our next roller coaster. The last one they added was Skyrocket, and that wasn't exactly recently, so it's definitely time for them to add something new. And I think they're going to come out full force. Rumor has it that they'll add an RMC, and I could totally see that. I think it just comes down to what type of RMC we'll be looking at. The two possibilities I see are a T-Rex, probably the more likely option, or a wooden roller coaster. Now, even though Kennywood has 3 wooden roller coasters, they're classics. This would be a modern, probably looping wooden roller coaster. And I'd rather see the T-Rex just because I'd rather see another steel coaster than another Woody. And we're pretty sure that an RMC is coming at this point. I've heard some people have spotted some of the guys over at Rocky Mountain Construction actually at Kennywood. And at one point, part of a ride layout was leaked. It's supposedly going to be back behind the log flume. And I'm sure no matter what RMC brings, it'll be a great addition. This would be the only RMC in the area. And overall, just be a great addition to Kennywood's lineup. Now, looking at 2019, they will have just added a big roller coaster. So I imagine they aren't going to add anything huge. They wouldn't have added some family attractions in a while, so I could see them going with some kids rides. Or this is a smaller park, so maybe they'll just go a year where they just don't add anything. Or maybe they'll do something very minor like a new show. Maybe some sort of experience. They could add a new restaurant. Or again, go the renovation option and renovate some of their current buildings. But if we're going to be seeing a new ride, I wouldn't expect anything huge. But moving on to 2020, there's a major type of attraction missing in Kennywood's lineup. They already have a great lineup of flat rides, but the one thing they're really missing is a drop tower. Now, at one point, Kennywood did have a drop tower, but it was replaced by Black Widow. It was this huge Intamin giant drop tower over 200 feet tall. So even though Black Widow is a great ride, drop towers are a classic, they're an icon. Every park needs to have a drop tower, but I don't think they would go the Intamin route like what they had. I could see them going with an S&S drop tower. I think it would just be nice to kind of fill that gap. And I don't know if they'd make it as tall as the other drop tower used to be. Maybe they'd kind of go with a moderate size, like 150 feet. They could even go with a Larson drop tower, but who knows? The point is that there are lots of options out there for them other than Intamin. So now we have 2021. And again, sticking with that idea of restoring attractions that they already have, one thing I could definitely see Kennywood doing is spending a year where they just focus on upgrades to one of their classic wooden roller coasters. These things are pretty old, they're classics, everyone likes them, And I'm not saying that they aren't going to do any upgrades in these 5 years to any of the rides, but I could see them spending the year just focusing on retracking or maybe doing enhancements to the ride. Now, as for which wooden roller coaster, I don't necessarily know. I could see them doing Jackrabbit, but they want to make sure the guests can continue to enjoy these attractions. And you look at some parks like Six Flags Magic Mountain or Knott's Berry Farm, which spent years focusing on just upgrading one of their roller coasters. And I could definitely see Kennywood going that route. So that is my 5-year plan for Kennywood. Will all of this happen? I think there's certainly a possibility, but some of these parks are kind of hard to predict. I think the only thing we really know for sure is that new roller coaster is coming in 2018. It's going to go back behind the log flume, and supposedly it's going to be by RMC. But all of this other stuff is just what I would like to see come to the park, what I think would be a good improvement. Again, we want to see these parks get better. And these are some enhancements that I would like to see at Kennywood. And I think this park's future is definitely looking bright. They aren't going to add this huge new attraction every year like some of these larger parks. They're more of a family-based park. But that doesn't mean that they aren't going to focus on upgrading and improving the park. So I want to hear about what you would like to see come to Kennywood in the future. Post all of those thoughts in the comment section below. And you can check out other 5-year plans that I've done, which are all available in a playlist on my channel. So make sure to stay tuned for more, and I will catch you guys next time.